We enjoy watching motorsports, whether it's Group B or Group A rally, or it's F1 or some other form of motorsport, and it's certainly entertaining. But have we stopped to think about how motorsport has shaped our motor car? The innovations that we take for granted nowadays have been trialled and experimented with in motorsports many years before they've become standard features on our modern cars. In fact, if we took a modern family car back to the 1900s, it would outperform the highest performance race car by a fair margin, primarily because of all the innovations. We're talking about family road cars that can do 150 miles an hour, can corner like they're on rails, and has supremely effective stopping compared to the race cars of the day. This video is going to look at some of the significant innovations in motorsport history and how this is correlated to technological advancements in our day-to-day cars. The 1900s to the 1930s for me was really where this all began. I certainly wasn't around then. The French Grand Prix introduced the concept of circuit racing. That really pushed the requirements of performance and handling. By 1912, Peugeot race cars were using a dual overhead cam setup, which was far more effective than the pushrod camshaft setup that they used to use before that. And it's something we take for granted nowadays on our modern engine. By the 1930s, Mercedes and Auto Union were using superchargers, and again, superchargers and forced induction is something we see on most modern cars coming out of factories nowadays. They're using smaller engines with forced induction, and it allows them to make more power to gain better fuel economy and keeps the overall production cost and weight of the car down to acceptable levels. The 1950s to the 1960s saw significant safety innovations. I know you're thinking, safety, but the reality is cars were quite dangerous back then. One of the most significant safety features that was introduced was in 1953, where Jaguar adapted the disc brake setup, which was so much more effective than the drum brakes that had gone before it. They worked better in all conditions, they resisted brake fade and allowed much shorter stopping distances. By the 1960s to 1970s, focus was put on aerodynamics. The early cars weren't particularly aerodynamically thought out, but we're starting to see aerodynamic shapes. We're starting to see spoilers and wings used to create downforce to reduce the drag and enhance the top speed and stability of the car. Aerodynamic design is certainly a major feature in modern cars. Even your family car has been through extensive testing to determine the most aerodynamic shape for stability and performance and economy. And that's significant because at 70 miles an hour, aerodynamic drag is sapping about 50% of the power requirements from the vehicle. The 1970s to the 1980s really saw them building on these early foundations. Turbochargers were starting to be adapted into F1 cars, and we see these small engines putting out phenomenal amounts of power. The added benefit was they used less fuel, so there was less need for pit stops. These cars could not only go faster, they were lighter, but they required fewer pit stops. Then we see the advent of electronic engine management. Before then, engine management had been a bit of a fudge. The timing was advanced relative to the RPM. There wasn't a lot of intelligence going into it. But nowadays, the modern car has a computer managing all aspects of fuel delivery, the way the fuel is burnt, and monitoring it to make sure that the engine is running as efficiently and effectively as possible, which helps reduce the emissions but maximizes the power that we get out of every single drop of fuel. We also started to see the introduction of anti-lock braking systems, and I think it would be hard to name any car that comes out of a modern factory that doesn't have an anti-lock braking system. It's one of the most significant safety developments that we have seen on the motor car through the ages, and certainly something that most drivers now completely take for granted. I remember back in the 80s, it was still fairly new. A lot of the cars we were driving back then didn't have anti-lock brakes, and we had to be very careful. You would never brake on a bend or while you were steering. The whole procedure for doing an emergency stop was somewhat more complex and different to what we have today, where you just stamp on the brake and the car sorts out the maximum braking efficiency to get you out of trouble. The 1990s onwards, there was a focus on lightweight materials. Carbon fibre was now used extensively in Formula One, and We're seeing cars today made from aluminium with carbon fibre contributing to significant other parts. It enabled the construction of lighter steel structures. The way that it's reinforced with these other more exotic materials meant that there was a significant weight saving, which aided handling, it aided performance, and it aided fuel economy. In the 2000s, by about 2009, we're starting to see the KERS, the kinetic energy recovery systems, implemented in F1. And that technology is really something we get in all of our modern hybrids today, where energy from braking and from deceleration on a hill, for example, is recuperated and stored in a battery where it can be later deployed, with the added advantage of the supreme amounts of engine torque that an electric motor gives you, unlike anything a combustion engine could ever provide. Then we see a proliferation of computer technology in cars. From 2010, a race car is producing gigabytes of data which can be dissected and analysed. Every corner, every motion the driver does and how the car responds to that can be extensively analysed, and fractions of a second can be shaved off the lap times. And your modern car today is also logging so much data about us. It's actually scary. Manufacturers are now able to work out where we've driven, how economical we've driven, how many times the safety systems have kicked in and warned us or had to take over. They're building up a picture of our driving habits when we use the car, the sort of speeds that we drive at, and how aggressive we are at driving. All of these things can be logged in the modern car, and with the connectivity that they provide, this data is just going back to the manufacturer. Let me know if you're concerned about that, or if you're quite happy with that. Do you have an app with your car that allows you to download this data and analyze it yourself? Is that useful, or are you concerned that this data is being used against you for advertising and marketing purposes, or for getting out of a warranty claim should the worst happen? Future developments that we're going to see in our future cars that we're going to be driving is going to be interesting to see. We've got synthetic fuel that's being developed. That could be the answer to being carbon neutral without going fully electric. There are fully electric racing series which are requiring very clever innovations in battery technology. They're looking at solid state batteries, being able to store more energy in a lighter, more efficient structure that doesn't degrade as much when it's charged repeatedly over many races. You can probably think of other innovations that have come from motorsport, but I'm hoping I've covered the most important ones in this video. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment. Have you ever stopped to think about how motorsport technology has been used in your day-to-day car? And what do you think the future holds? If you've enjoyed the video, please boot the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, there's a button there that enables you to do that so you don't miss out on the great content we've got planned. And I've lined up this video and this playlist that you should find really interesting. Thanks for watching. See you in these next videos.